Hello, hello! Let's talk about this current solo raid, Land Eater. So, this is a very straightforward boss. I genuinely don't think this guide is going to be useful to many people. However, I figured that I might as well make a video on it just to cover teams, team composition, and also a few things that's worth noting. So I'm going to, as usual, go from hardest to easiest. I'm going to start with the Summer and East Calm, because that team can be very difficult as the start is very rough. The start is very rough in general, because you have to deal with the lasers that the boss drops at you that ohms to your highest attack unit. So here I just try to burst as fast as I can. I manual charge shot here, but you generally don't have to. It's more because I want to count them, because once I get to 8, I can just spam shot to get to the next burst. Also, for those who don't know, the way full charge work, it increases the amount of bursts you gain. So if you have a 250% charge shot, you're going to get 250% burst. So for a character that needs to full charge anyway, it's pretty worth considering to just use them while full charging, because you generate more burst that way. Just worth noting. Another thing, here I'm using Rem, right? She's not bursting, she's there just to look pretty, I guess. You need a water unit. That's the whole reason I have this. Now, for those who care, this guide is not going to use Quincy or Phantom or anything of the sort. I don't have them, I'm skipping them, because there's no point in me going for them when the anniversary is coming literally less than a month further, whatever. Its anniversary is November 4th, so as a result, I don't want to just do this, obviously. So I just skip the banner. So for those who don't have Quincy, I will say this. For this specific team, you can put Scarlet where Rem is and then replace Scarlet with Quincy. Because at the end of the day, Scarlet does not need to burst to do most of her damage. Yes, it's nice to clear debris. However, Quincy's damage is overall very solid and will help you do more damage overall. This is a good place to actually put her in. Rem is useless here. She's not healing, she's not doing anything. She's just there for water. So if Quincy is there bursting, you're just going to do way more damage. So yeah, this fight is pretty rough at the start because this attack here will always target Scarlet, and you don't have that much way to heal, or rather offset the damage as much. So like, if you get rocks like this constantly in your ass, you have to destroy them. So just keep that in mind. It's also a bit of a struggle to break every part, so just keep that in mind. If you struggle to break the part with this team because you don't have Quincy, it might be worth considering to change things around. Now, if you have Ein, this is also a good option to replace Scarlet. If you have Ein and Quincy, just use Scarlet anyway, because Scarlet does not need to burst. Ein does. So Scarlet is just better if you want to use Quincy in this team. There is another team you can use her in. That's going to be the third team I'm going to showcase. But it's better to use her here if possible. Here you just want to break the cores. Oh, and another thing. It's very important that you break every part in Phase 1, because if you don't, the boss gets a shield that is red, apparently. So probably a fire-based shield. I don't know if you can break it. I've never had to deal with it. So that's something worth considering. If you have that to deal with, then yeah, that's pretty bad. You genuinely want to break every part as much as possible. Better to have 4 good team than 3 good team and 2 bad ones, you know? So it might be good to front load DPS so you actually have more teams that can deal with that part of the fight if you struggle. Just worth mentioning, I know some people actually had to struggle with this. I've never had to, but my account is a little stronger than most people, I'd say. So just something to worth worth keeping in mind if you're like a weaker level player. I don't like calling people like this like that, but that's the best way I can describe it. So, yeah. So yeah, Scarlet just deals with projectiles a lot, so you're able to just ignore a fair bit of them because Bunny Blanc Blanc is able to just deal with that. I'll also say this, just in general, after you're done with Phase 1, this boss just does not have damage. It cannot do much to deal with you. Even if you're dealing with these projectiles, it's not that much. There's not too much to deal with here. And here you see me switch to Rouge to do full charge shot. Again, it's to get more burst faster, so you can get potentially an extra burst. This team does not have good burst gen. Usually you want to have Ein to deal with that. And unfortunately, I don't have Ein. So, of course, I can't really do that. So as a result, I have to use Rouge to generate burst. If you have Ein, just spam shoot with her. Her full charge literally does not matter. It does too little for it to matter unless you want to be on autoplay while you full charge with someone else, or you want to manual someone else. There's just no point. So yeah. At this point, this fight is very simple. Whenever the two parts pops up, you want to break them. Unfortunately, I run out of ammo at the worst possible time with Rem every single time, so that's what happens. Here, so one thing to note is that Phase 2's parts actually are core shots, so that will matter for later, but here, the forehead of the boss turns into a permanent core. You want to shoot it as much as you can. Surprise, surprise, doing double damage good. Thankfully, since the boss is close range, Scarlet really won't struggle hitting the core as much as possible, and will even get a bonus in terms of damage. I'll explain a bit more on that once we get the shotguns, but effectively the boss is constantly in close range, which basically means shotgun gets a bonus damage, assault rifle gets bonus damage, SMG gets bonus damage, and this is why Quincy is very good for this fight. Even if her hit rate is not fully stacked, you will hit the core just fine. The white circles that spawns here are actually more bulky than they seem. Also, if you're down to like 5-6 seconds, don't even bother doing the circles. There's no point. Genuinely, there is no point in doing the circles if you are at like 5 seconds left. The boss takes forever to use his team wipe attack. So, just worth noting that you can just like give up on doing the circles when you're like around that time. If the circles spawn at 10 seconds, just ignore it, because it's going to take like 5 seconds before it actually expires, and then the boss will take 5 seconds to kill you. So you're able to just do more damage by just concentrating on the core. Very small thing, but it does help a little. Second team is Shotgun. Funny enough, yes, Shotgun is actually pretty bad for this. You do get the bonus damage and everything. However, I will say this. While you do, the lasers at the starts are very deadly because the heals you get from Bunny Alice are not, like, able to sustain you whatsoever. At least until, you know, that phase is over, so it's a little more dangerous. You have to pay attention to where the lasers go and actually cover. You have to do mechanic, that's crazy. But yes, so essentially for this, two things. This is one of the rare times I'm going to say this. Guilty actually is not close to Leona on this fight. Leona gets elemental damage boost. That makes her a fair bit better. However, the best part about her kit is the fact that she gives more pellets, and she also gives hit rate. If you have her skill 2 max, you get 23% hit rate. Now, you might be wondering, who cares? At the very end of the fight, when the boss gets his permanent core, you will miss like 90% of your shot without hit rate. If you have bonus hit rate, it does help you hit the core a bit more, so you do more damage overall. And it does make a fairly big difference. For the first burst, you do not want to use Bunny Alice whatsoever, okay? Just so you know. You generally want to use her on the second burst because that's where you have taken damage, most likely. Like here, I have to cover. I try to cover as little as possible because, you know, here I see Bunny Alice is getting hits, but I know I can actually take the whole thing that was left, so it's fine. Now, note that Guilty still did like 260 mil by herself, so she does fine. Here I try to like avoid breaking as much as possible so I can do more damage. The issue is that because your burst lasts so long, you don't get to AoE wipe as much as when Mary does it. So, as a result, you will take damage. But again, this is the hardest part of the fight. This part here, it no longer can do the lasers, so you're mostly fine. You're not going to be taking too much damage in general, and you'll be just fine. So yeah, as usual, you just burst as much as possible, you do as much as you can to do as much damage as possible. Note that when the 2 circles at the top are done, the next set of circles will have a red shield. You want to preemptively switch to Tove to actually do them, or, you know, just full burst and just power through it that way. It also works, but, you know, if you're out of burst, you generally want to switch to Tove. I don't think I've done that for the second set of circle, and it actually bit me in the ass a little. Just something worth mentioning. So here it's going to do the red circles again, or the red shield with circles again, rather. It takes a while though, so, you know. There it is. Yeah, see? I should have done that way earlier. I didn't. That was my mistake. But yeah, now, as you can see, you can actually hit the head. And as you can see, I'm missing most hits for the head. If I had Leona's hit rate, I think it would genuinely make a big enough difference that your damage would go up by quite a bit, actually. So, just something worth noting, because if you do have a built Leona, Leona is just better than Guilty here. It's one of the rare times where that's the case, because the core is actually bigger than it looks. But at the same time, while it is bigger than it looks, it is not big enough for shotguns, even on near range. So, you know. I try to stay on the core as much as possible to boost my damage, if you're wondering. So, yeah. Again, I'm pretty sure if you have a fairly solid Leona, you can probably break the 1 bill with this. Okay, so just worth mentioning. Private D would probably have a slightly easier time as well, just upkeeping or buff. So, you know, or just stacking it faster to get more damage. So, it would help a fair bit, but yeah. This is one of the rare times where that's the case. Just having elemental damage goes a long way, after all. And then the third team is RH. So this is the other team where Quincy can fit. As you can see, I'm using Helm. Now, don't let that make you go, oh my god, you have to heal for this? This is bad. This is gonna be rough. No, it's not. Mary deals with most projectiles. The only reason I use Helm is because this is genuinely like the best water I have. Helm, whenever she runs out of ammo, boosts your attack by 10%. This is just a bonus bit of damage. Here, you actually want to break projectiles with RH when you're not bursting to generate burst, because you're able to pierce through multiple rocks, and if you do that, you generate more burst than just shooting at the boss. So yeah. And here, as you can see, Mary just deals with that completely fine. If you have Helm, the fight is very comfortable. If you don't have Helm, you actually will have to cover some of these at the start, because the lasers are generally a problem. But, you know, if you have Quincy, it's well worth it. As I said, though, Quincy's better in the other team, because here you still will have to most likely cover with RH. That's pretty bad. You will lose a fair bit of damage like this. If you're wondering why you break the cores or why you want them dead as soon as possible, by the way, I'll just say this. It's because they have a Gatling gun attack. If you can deal with them, you basically can avoid every bit of damage in the fight. So, yeah. But yeah, as I said, Quincy works here, but it's not the perfect spot. It's better to use her in the first team, as I mentioned before. So here as well, you'll want to just burst as fast as you can in general. When you see the two circles at the top, if you are on Helm Burst, ideally, you break them instantly. If you are finishing up on with RH's Burst, you break them instantly. If you are about to go in RH Burst, you keep them alive a little longer. Mostly because this is what happens after, and if you're mid RH Burst, it sucks. So yeah. Here I took forever, like, charging because I was like, it's the next thing, but really you have 5 seconds before that happens, so you can probably unload an extra, like, full clip. Or full magazine, I should say. Yeah, see here I decided to burst a little too, or not burst, but I decided to break the circle too fast. So I lose some damage here. Still, if you're fast with Helm, it's mostly fine. And I think you do just fine. So here's another thing to keep in mind here. I did not go RH, marry RH right away. I'm keeping it for here because the core is permanent. However, I've done it both ways. It's roughly the same. If you go RH, marry RH, at the start of the fight, you do triple damage by breaking multiple parts because you pierce 2 parts plus the main body. So for the most part, it's roughly the same. And I think if you burst early with RH, Mari RH, you do more damage overall, but not by much. Like it's very, very comparable. Mostly because you have to do circle midway as well. So you lose some of the juice, but still. Just figured it'd be worth mentioning. See, here I just don't care. Because, again, it takes forever for it to charge. This is what I meant. Also, real quick, let me take a screenshot of my overall teams. Because I forgot to take that. Alright, so. Next team is going to be the Maxwell team. There's not much to say about this team. It's very similar to how everything works. Just keep in mind that because Tia is a rocket launcher, it's very good to use her to generate bursts on the little rocks. With Maxwell, you saw how I shot... Yeah, here I should have just been using... Yeah, like that. Tia, but I only figured out... This was my first try with this team, to be honest. But as you saw, I was targeting the bottom right side and then waiting for my Maxwell to be fully charged to like hit in the middle, because that way you can just do more damage. And here is another important part. You do not want to unleash a Maxwell burst, if possible, of course. If they're both dead already, it doesn't matter. But if you are using that full charge beam and there is a part alive, you want to keep it alive and then shoot at it, because you hit the part, you hit the main body, and the part is considered a core shot with Nagi on the team as well. So what ends up happening is you do 4 times damage on that shot. So, you know, like here you see I'm at 248 mil. Yeah, I do 70 mil in one go like this. That's why you want to do this as much as possible. As much as humanly possible, of course. But yeah, other than that, it's very standard. You just want to use Tia for burst gen as much as possible. And that's kind of it. Yeah, see, here I didn't go straight for the core because I was waiting for it to charge. It just boosts your damage by quite a lot, like unironically. Also, I guess the video won't be out yet, but I'll say this. If you have aim assist on, what you can do for your Ludmilla to keep shooting at the boss is to simply have aim assist maxed out, and then aim at one of those 2 alcoves where the cores are usually at, because that way the character will stay stuck on them instead of going for the little rocks. If you prefer them breaking the rocks, that's completely fine too. I just figured I'd mention it. Yeah, see here I just want to burst, but I'm not going to the right one until I can hit it. Again, it's a massive boost in damage every time you can do it, and it mostly lines up just right, so you want to do it as much as possible. Yeah, see here? It stays stuck in the little alcove. That's because of aim assist. If you don't have aim assist on, it will not do this. It will just go... Ludmilla will just go back to breaking rocks. And yeah, the rest is very simple. You just shoot at the core as much as possible, and you, like, do as little circles as you can. That's really it, really. Oh, and if you care, you really want resilience on Maxwell. You really want resilience on Maxwell, especially with how much you shoot with her, like this. Technically, you can also have it on Tia, but yeah. If you don't want to have to go back and forth, this is a good way to go about it. And yeah, again, very simple team. You're pretty much never in danger, except at the start, Tia can actually kill herself. So, yeah. Personally, I use I use the DR cube, the tempering cube, because it's pretty good at just dealing with that kind of thing. So if you don't want to run resilience on her, and you want a cube that makes her bulky, if you see that she actually gets close to dying a fair bit, tempering is a good cube for it, because it gives you damage reduction. And now for the typical team. I mean, genuinely, if you don't have these characters built up yet, what are you doing? Outside of, you know, Dorothy, because not exactly the most accessible character. But because there's so many parts in this fight specifically, she is better than Volume. The way crit rate works, for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure I've said this a bajillion time on the Discord, but I might as well say it again. Crit is paired up with core damage, it's paired up with area bonus damage. So as a result, what ends up happening is it is completely flooded. So everything is stacking, not multiplying in there. So you already have a 200% damage from core damage if you don't have Nagi. Nagi boosts that up. Same thing with Asuka to fire unit and so on and so forth. But you already have 200% damage here, so you get a 100% damage increase. Then full burst also is accounted in there. If you're in full burst, you do 50% more damage, in case you didn't know. Area bonus, so like if you are, say, a shotgun and you're fighting at something that's near range like this, you get a 30% damage increase. And then all of this is paired up with crit rate as well. So what ends up happening is, let's say you're a shotgun that... Okay, let's go a better way. Let's go assault rifle, and you're hitting the core at all time. You have the bonus to area bonus damage because they get bonus for mid-range and near-range. Assault rifle, that is. You get full burst bonus, that's 50%. You get 100% bonus, that's core damage. So what ends up happening is that crit rate, crit damage... Well, let's say you get 50% crit damage. Well, when you crit, which is not every time, that 280% damage will go up to 330. Yeah, so it's not a 50% damage increase, it's more like a 15-20% damage increase. It's very minimal as a result, and that's only when you crit, which you don't 100% of the time, obviously, so yeah. But yeah, this team is very simple. You want to just use Alice as much as possible. And yeah. Here you just want to hit the core as much as possible, once again. Keeping that circle alive is probably the better way to go about it, so you can, like, have less time doing circle and do more time, like, just hitting the core. But yeah, this team does heck a lot of damage, but that's just how it is. SBS is insanely strong, even now. My SBS has 43.5% attack, to be fair, so if yours has a big drop in damage, that's probably why. But yeah. Other than that, this is pretty simple. Hopefully this helps people. And yeah. That's this solo raid. As for the overall damage, give me a moment. There it is. So yeah, as I said, the best place you can have Quincy in is Team 1, because Helm is very redundant with that team to begin with. So as a result, if you can't have her there, your damage is probably going to be 1.4, 1.5 bill. You can also have her instead of Rem in Team 4, that's also fine. Though I think it's actually better in the Summer and East comp, actually. My bad. This is the team you want her in because Rem is useless. Helm just makes it very just convenient for the first team up there. But, you know, if you had 2 Quincy, you would also put her there. It's just that the 4th team on that list very much prefers to have Quincy, just because Scarlet does not care about being in burst. But yeah, 6.1 bill. I'm currently ranked in the top 100. I don't think I'm going to stay there because, again, I don't have Quincy. If I had Quincy, I could probably redo this and do like 6.6, 6.7 bill if I were to guess. But it's just not worth it, man. I'm not going to like spend manuals on someone that is not the anniversary unit. That's just... I feel like that's just a bad move. Then again, you can probably just reset them during the anniversary, so it's probably just fine. But yeah. Again, hopefully this was useful to people, and with that, have a nice day. See you all, everyone.